What's up, everybody? This is the Rex and Colin podcast, and as always, we're just shooting the shit, and we hope you get as much out of this hogwash as we do. This week, we're going to be talking about that feeling you get when, you know you want to do something, but it's, very, very difficult to do it. And we're also going to talk about the distinction of John Stuart Mill's higher and lower level pleasures, and some tips for people who are trying to find out, really what the fuck they want to do with their lives. And lastly, quick disclaimer, we're going to talk about choking the chicken, jacking off, spanking the monkey, waxing the carrot, beating the meat, and overall masturbation.
All right, well, basically, okay, so Colin said, it's because we were talking about, nicotine. And he said, you can't just take, nicotine or potentially weed or, sex. You can't just be able to get these immediate dopamine hits, as soon as possible with no work. Porn, they're not even working for it. It's just dopamine, immediately. You don't have to go talk to women. You don't have to do anything. It's just, immediate. Nicotine, same thing. Your brain just gets, electrified with, dopamine for absolutely nothing. It's, rewarded for doing nothing. So it's why would you do anything else? And then he was it just caught me off guard because even somebody like Colin, who's well read and watches as much stuff as he does, he was oh yeah, Andrew Huberman, he was saying you can't be doing this, you can't be doing these things. You have to use pot or nicotine or sex as a motivator, or if you do watch porn, use it as a motivator. Get yourself to do something before, so you work for the reward.
Yeah.
And you said you had something.
It's funny too, because I also see Colin as someone who's very well read. Colin is our other roommate. He's also a very well read person. He listens to a lot of podcasts. He does a lot of research on his own. And yeah, some things I'm bro, you didn't know that? I always take it for granted that he also doesn't know a lot of some of the things that at least we've researched or talked about too. I don't know. This isn't the first time. I think he said something else with plastics or something. Something like, oh, I already took for granted. He was oh, dude, I just read this. And I was really? But at the same side of the token, he does give me things with seed oil, canola oil, seed oil, some things that I don't really necessarily research with.
The way I see it is he just watches a fuck ton of videos. Mm-hmm. So then he gets but short videos, particularly from TikTok and Instagram. So he gets super short snippets about a fuck ton of things. So it's not necessarily that he goes super deep, but he just knows a little bit about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So even if it's not necessarily accurate, he doesn't have the full picture. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel me and you go much deeper diving. We'll read a full book on something, or you'll watch a full documentary. So we get a much deeper dive on fewer topics.
I see. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to this, because I remember when we first started talking, when I first beat off in a long time.
Yeah.
I forgot how I came up. I was dude, I'm so horny, bro. And you're bro, just beat off, bro. And I'm fuck you, Colin. You just want me to beat off. You don't know. You're bro, it'd solve all your fucking problems if you beat off. And I'm all right. And then I was kind of horny. And I was in my bed, and my door was closed, and I was I'm alone.
It's time.
It's time. Like Colin said, Colin gave me the thumbs up, the glory thumbs up. No longer I'm shameful or anything else. I don't think it was quite shame.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was just a streak for a streak at that point.
It was okay, I can now beat off.
Yeah, I was everything was just...
My conscience is clear.
Yeah, I had a full set of tissue there too. I was oh, this is a nice thing.
Premium lotion, some CeraVe, I'm indulging.
Just two generous pumps of CeraVe, bro. That's a fucking nice couple of fucking, tissues.
Maybe some splash in some Avare or whatever. Avini.
Mix them up a bit, get the perfect
consistency. Get the whole potion, all right, I'm stirring it up, ready?
Make sure it smells all fucking yummy,
some
dude.
Gold Bond, make sure we're moisturized tonight, right. Baby.
That's right. So yeah, I got the Gold Bond, the Aveeno, I got it all, bro, in my hand. And then yeah, I fucking found the go-to that I always like. I'm oh, this is the fucking go-to. I haven't seen this in so long, dude. Just go and just type it in.
Deep from the coffins of your phone. Yeah. Just, let me dust this one off.
Just opening Chrome, putting in incognito, and just clicking
Lighting the candles.
Yeah. Fucking, I got the rose petals, bro. I was putting the rose petals down, bro.
All right.
And yeah, it was this time www.cornhub, because I always spell it wrong. Anyways.
Yeah, all right.
And then, yeah, I beat off, dude. And then, dude, the next day, actually, I beat off. And it was so like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just like so much. I was like, yo, I gotta do this again, bro. That was like crazy, dude. So I like stayed up for another like 10 minutes and I was like, or maybe 20 minutes. I was like, no, I gotta do this again. So then I did it again. I was like, oh. And I was like, dude, this is a lot. I'm gonna go to sleep. So then I fell asleep. And then I told you about it.
Yeah.
And I remember recounting, I was like, yo, Colin, like that felt way too good. Like,
I did nothing, and my brain was like electrified.
it was just soaring through, dude. I was just like flying in the air, bro. And then all of a sudden I just fall to the fucking ground, dude. And I just eat shit again. And then I felt like a fucking worm just crawling around, just waiting to fly again.
Yeah.
And it took just so much. I think I had to beat off one more time after that. But then after that, you were like, yeah, bro, watch pictures, bro. They're like better. And I'm like, pictures, bro? I don't know, bro. So then I just like tapered off after that.
Yeah.
And it took me a lot of time. Like I couldn't just like cold turkey. I was like, all right. Did it one more time, and then I was like, all right, we're gonna
Chill out. Now
We're mellowing out
for a little while.
for a lot longer. And then that's when I realized, I was like, and we both said this, we need to like treat it. If we do these, we can't just give each other just crazy amounts of dopamine like off the cuff. Like,
Yeah.
like
You have to like use the carrot as a reason to do something else. Like get your brain to do something it doesn't want to do because it does want the dopamine. But instead we just like don't work for it. And just get rewarded for doing nothing. So then it's like, why the fuck would our brain want to do anything else ever?
So then, all right, walk me through this, because this is still a raw thought in my head, and I couldn't place it very well yet. But it's still going with the things that I want to do with things that I ought to do. Still, you remember this? Things that I
Yeah.
want to do, like immediately want. Like I'd love to, like, I don't know, let's say beat off. I'd love to eat ice cream, specifically at
Okay.
eat ice cream, eat Funyuns. I like Funyuns. Like eating these like dark chocolate and then other
so
things
stuff like the elephant wants.
yeah, the stuff they element while watching anime. There's like some anime that I'm like, oh, God, dude. I realize I'm a fucking addict for anime too now, bro. I realize I'm just like, oh, dude, like it just like keeps me up at night
Really?
sometimes. Dude, I am, dude.
That's fucking crazy.
Anyway, things I want, I've identified them, and then I have things I ought. And things I ought has been like, I wrote them down,
What are
bro.
we back in the fucking
What, do you have a better
18th
name?
century?
Do you have a better name or what?
Ought to do, dude.
Things I ought to. I don't really know how else to put it.
Like things you should do.
I don't like should, because it's like it's like what you should, me internally should do. You know, I don't really know.
Ought is like
I ought to, like me,
you should go to work, but you ought to like better yourself.
maybe.
Is that how you're describing it?
Yeah, maybe kind of.
Okay.
I don't like the should word. I don't know. So
Okay.
ought to, for me, I wrote it down. I want to learn French. I want to learn Spanish. These are two things I want to perfect.
Okay.
I want to do a handstand. I want to do the splits. Maybe I want to run 3 miles. Maybe I want to do a certain amount of push-ups. It can be athletic goals. It can be intellectual goals. Things of like higher pleasure.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe that's how
You've
I
been
should
on
do.
the higher pleasure.
Yeah, and we've talked about higher pleasure before. But yeah, maybe like lower level pleasures that just hit the dopamine like a motherfucker. Is like one.
The raw brain.
Yes,
that
dude.
Just, holy
Yeah,
shit.
dude, shit that just makes me like puss at the mouth, bro. And then shit over here is like shit that I'm like, after I finish it, I would feel like great afterwards.
Yeah.
Some people it might be like getting your bachelor's, like maybe doing some course, doing something that it isn't
Like a challenge.
it's a challenge, and it's not something that you can just like. Sometimes people struggle just like diving into, like learning Spanish. Like it's, you know, it's like there's somewhat of a wall there,
Yeah.
but there never really seems to be a wall there when you're like getting like these dopamine hits. You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like the lower level pleasures are the things that you just like that evolutionarily you want. You
Yes.
want sugar because it's the most amount of energy
Yes.
as possible immediately. You want sex because it's reproduction of the species.
Correct.
You want maybe sleep maybe is on there. I don't know if that's a good one. But yeah, like stuff you just crave. Like drugs would be on there, nicotine. That's just like dopamine immediately. And there's no barrier because it's like you just want those inherently being a human. Versus like anything that takes any effort whatsoever, any goal, any aspirations that you have to work towards that mean more because you have to work for them, but because you have to work for them, it's a steeper barrier to entry, so it's harder to get.
John Stuart Mill is this old philosopher. And to reiterate the idea that Colin was saying, lower level pleasures, according to Mill, are pleasures of the swine, pleasures, just simply sensations, and things that just generally feel good. Higher level pleasures, according to Mill, are pleasures that can only be achieved by humans. An example of this would be something like someone setting a specific goal and actually achieving that goal. Maybe something like getting your degree. No other creature in this world is able to experience this kind of sensation, according to Mill.
And
It's just a steeper barrier to entry. That's really it. But you still want it. And it's just this like layer, this wall that you just have to kind of punch through. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I'm like in the rhythm. I like this. This is better, furthering my life somewhat, maybe.
yeah.
And it occurred to me because we invited Jake from work or whatever. He knows Keirsey. Kind of convoluted story. Anyways, we invited somebody from work who said he knew one of our buddies because we were going to go drive out to Tennessee. And Jake, this guy, we're like, dude, please come. And he was like on the fence. He was like kind of wanting to go. And we're like, come on, Jake. Like me and Colin.
Colin's one of our other roommates.
We're like, come on, bro. Like, it's going to be fun. Like, we're going to go climb. And then he texts me afterwards. He says, I'd rather play games all day with like my friends. And like, I get it. Games is a very social thing. But I grouped it into like somewhat of like lower level pleasures, just playing games all day. In the same sense,
it's just like you get the hit immediately.
you just get the hit, and it's just a hit, and nothing really. I don't know. Maybe if you're like, maybe if that's your goal, maybe if you're trying to be like a professional gamer or something. I understand. I'm not sure if his was that way.
Yeah.
But I related it when with my ex, and all I would do is just have sex. I would just have sex with her for like all the time. All my weekends,
like weeks on end.
all my weekends were burnt. Just like going down to my sponsors and just fucking.
And you said you even wanted to go snowboarding with people.
Whoop-de-fucking-do, man. Rex gets trapped with his girlfriend and has sex days in and days out for 21 days and 21 nights, man. But guys, let me tell you, I'm here to shed light because I've climbed this ladder and I've gone to the final rung, and I'm here to tell you that it's not the end all be all. And if you guys want an in-depth breakdown on what it looks like at this top run of the ladder, we're going to release a podcast. Tune into the show notes for when we decide to release this.
Rex was a sex slave.
Sex slave. Yeah, I wanted to do other things, and I felt like I wasn't forwarding my life at all.
Yeah.
And I felt like, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like this is kind of the same thing Jake was feeling, maybe.
Yeah.
He's just like playing games, it feels good, but then like you pull out of everything, and you're like, whoa, like I haven't furthered the ball at all. Nothing's furthered.
The ball of life, like I haven't done shit. I just keep playing video games, like what the fuck?
And I kind of feel it like it's like life's like a big track, right? Just like a straight track. And everybody's got like the proverbial carrot, right? So they got this like, they're running and they got this like stem in the back of their head and it comes out forward and there's a carrot in front of them. And some people are like running towards it and some people just like laying on the track and just eating their fucking carrot. And they're just like looking. They're like happy. They're just eating their carrot. But every once in a while they're like, oh, people keep moving by. Maybe it's to comparison, but you're just kind of stagnant, you know? And when you could, if you just threw the carrot a bit and then just like crawled over and ate it, you could at least like make a foot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what I've been thinking
I agree.
is I realized, because I've been slowly writing this down, I wrote down in my journal, my like handwritten journal, things Rex wants. The want things, not the
low level.
Yeah, the low level shit. And I could only come up with like 3. And 3 of them, one of them was like a good movie. And the other one was like Funyuns.
Salt.
Yeah, and like maybe salt. But I'm not going to like, do fucking 100 push-ups for a thing of salt,
No.
So then I was like, I'm going to get super fucking specific with the things that I want.
Okay.
So then I revamped it. So now it's like a carrot closet or like just like a juicy cookie jar.
I like that.
Is what I'm making. So I wrote down, I love watching anime. So then I wrote down exactly which animes that I could watch like this.
Yeah.
And I made it super accessible. So if I needed like a cookie, if I needed like to do anything, I just go in, grab the cookie, and I eat it. I'm like, all right.
You made the low level stuff easily accessible.
I made it identifiable. Very identifiable.
Okay, so you knew what your goal was.
So it's not like, now I know exactly like once I do X, I get this.
Okay.
And I'm like, and I know what it tastes like.
Okay.
Because I've watched there's 3 animes, and I've watched the first episode of all of them. So I'm
Okay.
like kind of wanting to finish them right now.
Yeah.
Like me, like I'm like holding back to finish
Okay.
them, but I want to put them up so I can like do a handstand, and then once I finish my handstand, I'll watch this anime X amount.
Okay.
But I'm like highly identifying the cookie jar and things that I really like to do.
Okay, that's good.
And then on the other side, because I've realized the things I ought to do has just been a huge fucking list. It's
Just growing exponentially.
it just grows all the time.
Fuck,
But then
bro.
my cookie jar list never really grew. It never really grew. I never really identified things that like make me fucking do things.
Yeah.
And that's just like the whole thing that I've been getting at. It's just like I've been identifying which cookies go in the jar
Okay.
and make sure that they're there.
So now it's not just, oh yeah, I should go learn French. It's like, I should learn French, and I'm going to learn French because I have the cookie at the other end. It's not like, I'll learn it, and then maybe I'll enjoy my time. It's like a one-to-one relationship now. It's like, I will learn French because it means I get to watch this specific anime that my brain's craving right now.
And I realized it the most when I told you about the French thing, and then I was craving watching that Netflix series, Lupin, or whatever. It's called
Yeah.
Lupin. I was like, that's all I was thinking about the whole day. I was like, I can't fucking wait to listen to some French right now. Like, I was just like so happened that it hits 2 in 1, that I learned French and that I get some binge watching.
Yeah.
And that just like made me happy. I was like, dude, I need to start pairing these. So I've been putting anime only Spanish.
Yeah.
Only Spanish, so I have to read it. And it pisses me off when I don't exactly know what's going on in the story, because that's like the juiciest part for me.
Yeah,
So I'm over
your
here.
brain just like wants to know it.
So I pause it real quick. I fucking search up the word in Spanish. I'm like, oh, thank fuck. And then I keep going. So it's like forcing me to, bro.
Yeah.
It's been giving me a lot of exposure so far.
That's good. That's good.
I don't want it to get out of hand, and then I just hit the fucking dopamine card too hard because the cookie jar is so fucking like juicy, you know?
Yeah, it's
Now I have
easy.
a list. So it's taking me more, but I think my guilt level has like risen because of it. Like I couldn't just like go in my room right now and just fucking eat all the cookies in the jar. Then I think I'd feel kind of bad because nothing's like moved anywhere else.
Oh, so you have some level of discipline to not just go munch all the cookies right now.
Correct. And I don't know if it's for everybody. I don't
feel
know.
like that first level is not there for everybody. Like
Correct.
the one thing would be building up, placing anything between you and the cookies. Like just putting a wedge in between you and immediately the thing. Well, I guess the first step would actually be you identifying your goals.
Yes.
That's probably step number one.
For someone else, yes. Figuring out, some people struggle just to write their own goals.
Yeah, write down what you want. I just like the way Tim Ferriss put it. He said, the things you do have and be. Things you want to do with your life, things you want to have in your life, and the things you want to be in your life. And just write those things down. And now you at least have some goals written down. Tim Ferriss is like this whack dude. He's a super interesting guy. He's an entrepreneur. He was in like the Tango World Championships, and also like he won the Chinese kickboxing national championships. I don't know, super interesting guy. His whole big thing, which we just talked about, is do, have, and be. So an example of that would be to do, maybe you want to go skydiving. Have, maybe you want to own a nice house in Italy. And be, maybe you want to be a world-class chef or something. And his whole point is just to give you goals, get you thinking. So do, have, and be. Get you thinking about what the hell you actually want in this life. You probably already instinctually know, like, all the cookies that you want to eat. We say carrots, but I hate carrots because it's like,
They're not yummy.
yeah, they're not even fucking yummy. Yeah, so the cookies, and then now just interspersing those goals between you and the cookies. So just placing these goals that you've identified before getting to the end goal, and then slowly maybe increasing the amount of time of you learning Spanish before you get in the gummy bears or whatever it is.
Yes.
So it's been successful so far.
It's just like, you say, I don't know, do you know all the things in your cookie jar, bro? Because I realized I don't. I really don't. And they're just general things like, oh yeah, I like movies. Like, motherfucker, I wrote down like 3 movies that I will pay for today to watch.
Yeah.
And that's how like I want to watch. One of them is the original Batman with the Joker in it.
Oh, nice.
The Joker who died. I like really want to watch that one because they say that's like one of the best acting of all time or whatever.
Okay.
And that's like, I'm like ready to watch that, and I need to pair it with something, so I feel good afterwards.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that like this week. Like after I just had like a little bit more time, I don't know. I've like built in somewhat of the discipline to like at least do X amount of time each day of like whatever goals it is. So learning the language, learning, working on writing, whatever it is. I've like built up some level of discipline to do those things. But the issue I run into is after like an hour and a half, maybe an hour and a half of editing some videos, maybe recording some videos, writing, learning Russian. After this timeline, I'll notice myself sort of drifting off. And I'm like, my brain kind of had its fill of learning these things. I want to go on my phone right now. And at first I'm just like, oh, I'll watch a couple videos. And then maybe I'll watch a couple videos. I'll scroll through and I'm like, I should work on this again. But then after like 5 minutes, I like taper off again. And then I go back to my phone. And then I look up, and it's been 45 minutes that I've been on Instagram the whole time. I'm like, what the fuck just happened, dude?
Happens to us all.
So what I've been trying to do is being slightly more intentional. So maybe I'll set a timeline for my higher level goals. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do these things for an hour and a half. And I only get an hour and a half. Because if I let it go longer, that's when like my whole day falls apart. It just goes downhill. So if I set an hour and a half, I'm like, no, I have to get these things done before an hour and a half. And then after an hour and a half, I have to have the discipline to pull myself away. And like, okay, I'm going to go enjoy these things. So then I kind of got there. And I was like, okay, I got to a stopping point, finished my hour and a half. I was like, all right, I'm going to go eat lunch. I ate some lunch. Usually I'll watch part of an episode at lunch. And then it was after lunch. And then this is where the problems arose. Because after that, I was like, I don't really want to go edit my videos. I don't really have any other goals in mind. Like, and then I sort of just defaulted towards like my phone. And like watching Netflix or something. I was like, fuck, bro, like, this is like not very productive. I need it, like, I'm still just kind of wasting time. Like, yeah, I was kind of good at the beginning of the day, but I still got like 6 more hours. It's like 12 right now. And I still got like 6 more hours before I have to do anything. And I realized, I was like, okay, this is where I have to, I think, identify the cookies a little bit more. I have to identify some of the things that like, I want some of the things that I just enjoy for the sake of enjoying, like the cookies, like the movies, because I realized I didn't really have those things lined up. So it was harder for me to trick myself into, I don't know, doing the higher levels. Because I established at the beginning of the day, I built up the habit, but then after that, the rest of the day fell apart.
So I have 2 things. The first one is guilty, and the second one is the feeling at which... I'll probably forget it. But let me hit the first one. So yeah, I like it that how intentional you are. Because if you're not intentional, you just feel guilty being on your phone. Which is something I hate. I hate being guilty on my phone.
Right.
So then I'm like, I will give myself 10 minutes or 15 minutes on Instagram, whatever X amount of time on Instagram. And I'm going to fucking enjoy it, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
guilt-free.
Guilt fucking free, like, I've earned this shit. Sometimes I really try to say, I'll be like, this is because I did X, bro. Makes me feel fucking good. And then, so have you ever just took a whole day to just like, fucking be on Instagram, just binge watch shit, just fucking hit the dopamine button like as hard as you fucking can. And then like, because I've done that. One day I'll just fucking hit the dopamine as hard as I can. Everything I like, I'll do it. And then like kind of maybe middle, maybe at the end, I'll be like, yo, I'm like kind of ready to do something. I don't know, personally. Maybe some people don't feel that way. But sometimes when I hit the dopamine button so hard, I'm like, all right, like, there's like spurts where I'm like, oh, I should do something.
Yeah.
So I'm like ready to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt that way. What I'm trying to say is I want the balance. I think there is a good balance.
I think there is a good balance. I think you're right.
Because if you hit the dopamine button enough, you're like I'm good.
I'm pretty satisfied.
I'm pretty ready to do something now, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if... I don't know. That's always like kind of scared me, just like burning the whole day.
You should try it, because then At one point, I was like upset that I burnt the whole day. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do something fucking hard right now.
And maybe that's the thing, like, I have, like, done the dopamine, but I haven't set aside, like, a whole day. But I have, like, I'll watch a movie, and then I kind of noticed that yesterday. Like, I did in the morning was good. I did productive things and what I wanted to do. And then the middle, the beginning to middle, I, like, kind of hit the dopamine. I, like, watched a couple random things. I watched my movie, and then I ate lunch. And then I just, like, capped out. I was like, I'm, like, kind of done on Netflix right now. Like, this isn't really piquing my interest.
Dude, so you reached for a different flavor of cookie, bro. You got oatmeal raisin? And
I didn't have it.
Chocolate fucking chunk in the fucking tank, dude.
And that's the thing. Like, I realized, like...
Dude, there's other things out there, bro.
Like, I just didn't know what.
Dude, see, this is the whole thing. So I think people have the opposite problem of what we have. They don't know, like, their higher level... It's not even a cookie jar. It's like a...
Like your goals.
Yeah, it's like...
what fulfills you, maybe.
It's like a knife you have to sharpen or something. I don't really know. They don't really know the goals, and yes, those things.
Yeah.
So then it's like, they default to like, oh, let me just hit the dopamine button. And then they'll peek out and they're like, man, like I want to do something.
I don't want to learn Spanish.
But I don't really know. I didn't write it down. I don't have these like set goals.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, our list is big as fuck, dog. We got these huge, my list is expansive. All the things I want. I don't even know how I'm going to do them all. But then I look on the other side. I'm like, bro, what makes me fucking happy? Like, what the fuck?
But, okay, I think there's an in-between, though. And this is where I stumbled upon the new hobby. Because...
Dude, hobbies are like a different thing in the different planet, I feel, bro.
I agree. But I think there's an in-between. Because one, like, I can only sit in my room and, like, learn so many goddamn things. I can watch enough jiu-jitsu videos. I can study enough Russian. I can write. I can learn to be a better writer. And at some point, I just, like, max out. I'm like, all right, I need to do something fucking different. So then I go down the dopamine rabbit hole. And then I check all those boxes. And I'm like, well, I need to do something fucking else right now. And there was nothing. Like, there was no dopamine jars to hit. There was no, like, I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I need some, like, I don't know what I need. I need some excitement in my life. And I was like, all right, I guess I could go talk to my buddies. Maybe you guys weren't home, or, like, I can't remember. Maybe I did call up one of my buddies. And maybe I did, yeah, because I talked to Josh. And then I talked to Josh, and I still had, like, 5 hours. I was like, bro, I need something else right now. I was like, I need to enjoy. I was like, should I listen to a podcast? Fuck this podcast. I don't want to listen to a podcast. I was like, I could listen to music. Bro, fuck music. Like, I'm not interested right now. Like, what do I want to do? I want to watch a movie? Fuck that. Do I want to watch a documentary? Like, nothing was piquing my interest. I was like, dude, this is driving me nuts. I was like, I'll go, like, think for a while. I, like, laid in here. I meditated. And then I, like, thought for, like, an hour. I was like, bro, I still have, like, 4 fucking hours. Like, I'm bored as fuck right now. Like, I need something to do. I was like, all right, I need some excitement in my life. I was like, all right, I'm going to go buy a fucking skateboard, dude. Like, I need some excitement in my life.
That's funny.
And that was the only thing I could come up with. I was like, some, like, adrenaline. Something to get, like, the blood pumping. I was like, I don't want to work out. Like, I want something that I just enjoy for the sake of fucking enjoying. I was like, ideally, I think, like, a dirt bike would have, like, hit it. Or, like, snowboarding. I think it would have hit the fucking mark. Like, something that just, like, it's just, like, exciting. It's, like, fun. Like, gets the adrenaline pumping. It just, like, it touches the soul. Like, I think it's snowboarding, honestly. And that's, like, snowboarding is the closest thing that I found that just, like scrapes the soul. And it's just like, oh, dude, that felt fucking good. Or, like, the cliff jumping was the other thing. It just, like, it just, like, scratched the soul, dude. It was just, like, it felt so fucking good. And I think there needs to be, like you said, just, like, a balance.
Yeah.
Because if you do that all the time, like, that's almost how I felt over 60 days. And I was, like, craving, like, learning something. Or I was craving, like...
60 days was this luxurious opportunity that Colin and I got where we spent 60 full days and we were essentially retired. We both bought a one-way ticket and we went out to a different country with a different language and with big open eyes, and we took it all in. It was solo travel. It was terrific. It was fantastic. It was really good, honestly, for like the first beginning part of it. And then we just got kind of bored, I guess. We just kind of, we lost kind of meaning. We were like, okay, what do we do now? Now that we've gone and we've seen Italy, now that we've gone and seen France, like we've seen all these places, like all these places kind of blend in. Like what's next? What's the next step? And we were standing there wondering what this next step was. My name is Rex Yee, and I am here to tell you that Infinite Holiday is not the end all be all. It's not it. It's not the pinnacle. There's more.
There's more. There's more to this meaning of life. So we figure, if we're not working towards retirement, what the hell are we working towards? We answer that question in another podcast. Check the show notes for this one. It's a goodie. Getting better at something.
Something difficult, honestly, at that
yeah,
point.
like something difficult. So there's like, I don't know. That's all it comes down to. It's like finding the sections of your life and allocating the correct amount to. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure quite how to do that or the correct percents, but I know you have to do it because otherwise you go fucking insane.
I don't know, because I always put hobbies in some other fucking dimension. But yes, I kind of feel, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying with them. And also with you said you were bored. Did you feel like you felt almost disgusted? Or even near loathing?
I wasn't like upset.
So it was just boredom. Because in the emotional wheel, it goes boredom, disgust, then loathing. And I was curious if you felt any like disgust. The emotional wheel that I was referring to earlier was made by Robert Plutchik. It is currently the most well-known and used emotional wheel out there. I personally really like using the emotional wheel because I feel that I struggle really categorizing my emotions, and this does a really good job of doing that. Because it sounded like you had a harder hit of boredom than most.
I was just so fucking bored, dude.
Yeah.
Because that was like the last 3 days I've been doing that. It's like so Thursday, and since Monday, I've just been like, fuck, bro, I need something to do.
You need some spice.
Yeah.
You should honestly try longboarding, because I go in and like, I'll put the headphones in, and I'm just like melt into whatever I'm doing. Yeah. And it puts you in a different world for a little bit. Makes you forget about whatever you have.
Yeah, but you have to, don't you generally need hills for longboarding?
No, I did at the academy, bro. I didn't longboard down. I did tricks. But it depends on what you want to do. You can.
Yeah, can't you just do tricks on the skateboard too?
Yeah, you can do tricks on skateboard, yeah. Okay. I just like, it's just like no, I don't want to talk about, it's just like smoother. Maybe the wheels. Maybe it was just the wheel thing.
Because I thought about it. I did think about that.
Skateboard, you gotta like, I feel like you have to put more effort in popping up and things.
And that was the irritating thing. I was like,
tired.
Putting effort into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'm enjoying this, but like my heart rate's high as fuck right now.
That's what I feel like when I skate. I'm like, Jesus, bro. Like I'm like popping, moving gravity. You know.
Like after an hour, I was like, I'm like done with this. Like I'm like capped out right now. My heart's pumping. And then I was like back to square one. I was like, fuck, dude, I don't have enough like. I don't know.
Because you can glide with longboard. You just glide around. You can kind of dance on it too if you can. You can like switch your feet. You know.
You've said that.
And I kind of do. It kind of reminds me of snowboarding at some point. You just kind of glide. You just kind of feel.
Yeah, that sounds pretty nice. Yeah, because I don't know. You say you reached into the cookie jar and there was like only 3 things.
It pissed me off that there was only 3. I didn't realize it pissed me off. I'll even show you my note fucking pad. I'll show it to you right now. List of things that like I ought to do was like a whole page. Yeah. And the things that cookie jar was 3 things, generic. Yeah. My other shit was like hella fucking specific too.
Yeah.
And this takes time. Like, just so everybody knows, it takes like a fuckload of time to figure out what you fucking want. And I also realized nobody can fucking tell you what you want. You can't just ask your fucking mom or dad, hey mom.
Or watch a TED Talk.
Or watch a fucking TED Talk, bro. No, you have to like dig into your fucking soul, lock yourself in a fucking room, and think about this shit, bro. Nobody has the fucking answer to this.
Nobody does.
That's what pisses me off, dude.
You gotta grind for it.
You know what reminded me of this? I did the Amex had this thing where you can like be a mentor for like a college student. Did you ever do that?
No.
I signed up for it.
Okay.
So essentially, like this kid who's about to go to college.
Yeah, you said that.
I think it's called U-Stride.
You have like tutoring a kid, basically.
It's not necessarily tutoring. I did do tutoring, but this is like.
Oh, it's more mentorship.
It's mentorship, like specifically. So like this high school kid, he was like, his name was like Justin, and Justin like texted me. He's like, "Hey Rex," and I was like, "Oh, what's up? You know, like I have this degree."
Yeah, this is through Amex, like the credit card company.
I think it's called Ustrive. I could be wrong. Anyways, Amex paid for your background check for you to get in for free.
Oh, nice.
So through the
Okay.
thing. Anywho, so I was a mentor for this kid named Justin. And I remember distinctively, because I was ready to help people out. I was like ready for it. Justin like texted me. He's like, "Hey Rex, like I'm a high school kid, going to college soon, but I don't know what I want to do." And that's all he texted me. And like for the first time in my life, I was like, bro, like I don't have the fucking answer for you, dude. And like I was like typing it up and I was like, I don't think anybody is gonna have the real answer for you. Like this isn't something that you can just like ask me. Or your mom or your dad. Maybe they know generally your strengths, you know, but they can't tell you exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's something you need to find out. And it like hurt me to try to send that message to him because I felt like I wasn't helping him at all.
Yeah.
But I sent it to him, and then he was like, "Yeah, I know, but like I don't like." He's just like,
Okay. I have some more things on that. That's where I think nobody can tell you what it is you want to do, but they can give you suggestions and ways for you to find out for yourself. And this is
Colin's Avenue.
This is part of the reason psychology fascinates the fuck out of me, dude. Because it's like everybody has like I don't know if you want to call it a predisposition or like a set way your personality is, but it's fucking weird because everybody starts out with a set personality. Now you can change it. They can be sculpted to be a certain way. You can sculpt it to adjust to the people around you. But everybody has a set point, a set personality that you're born with.
The genetic thing.
It's a genetic thing, and I wish I knew more about it, but I know that it's a set point, and it's the way you process the world, interact with the world, interact with people, interact with tools, interact with language, and it's a large part defined by your genetic makeup. And it could be similar to your parents, but it can also be very different. And what fascinates me is that I've learned like more about myself just by reading about my personality type and personality types of people similar to mine than I have from like I could go out and test every single one of these avenues. I could go try out speech and debate. I could go try out learning a language. I could go try out clerical work. I could go try out financing. And I could try out all these different things. But at some point, I'm going to stumble upon a rough box that's similar to a bunch of other people that have a similar personality type as me. And while there's always going to be deviations, there's always going to be differences, it gives you a very valuable, I think, starting point. And I remember reading one time, and they were like, "Oh yeah, people with this personality type are very drawn to learning things and crave knowing more, learning new things, learning new skills, and self-improvement." And then I took a step back. I was like, I guess those things apply. And I was like, all right, let me read more. Like, I'm kind of skeptical. And they're like, oh yeah, and then people with this personality type are often skeptical. Even reading this article, you might be skeptical. I was like, God, these fuckers, I don't know. I don't know.
Colin is a skeptic,
Yeah,
so everybody knows.
I was like, it was just like kind of weird reading through it. And then I kept going there like, oh, people with this personality type are unusually interested in learning new languages. I was like, I knew a language I wanted to minor in before I knew my major. I was like, this is like kind of applying. And the more I read it, the more like I saw different things. I was like, bro, like a lot of these general principles, these guiding principles, like apply to me. And it gave me like, I think a much better starting point. So while I definitely still deviate, like I think I'm much more willing to take risks than a lot of people with my personality type. I'm much more willing to be I don't know, maybe like I crave the adrenaline a little bit more. It gave me a much better like understanding of at least square one and of things that I might be interested in. It gave me a much better idea of the types of things that I'd be interested, and more importantly, the types of things that I most likely won't be interested in. Because that's just as important, like being able to say no. The personality test specifically, which I'm referring to here, is the Meyers Briggs type indicator, the MBTI, also referred to as the 16 personalities test. And it kind of pissed me off because there's just like 1,000 different, like, personality test temperament indicators. I don't know, dude. The Meyers Briggs is like the gold standard, and it is good shit. Keirsey's 4 personalities is also a good one. It's a more generalized version of Meyers Briggs. And it just opened my eyes to a much better guiding principle than starting from zero and being Justin and being like, yo, Rex, like, can you tell me anything? Like, I'm grasping at straws here and have no fucking clue where to start my life.
So what would you tell Justin?
I guess I would have a couple things to tell Justin, but I would say, I mean, I'm a very strong advocate of personality tests. I think just starting out 16 personalities and read up on it, I think is just understanding yourself is a huge first step to moving forward. Number 2, I really liked the do have be. Do have be, I think is, I don't know, that like gave me, it made me just think about like what the fuck I wanted to do in my life, who the fuck I wanted to be, what the fuck I wanted to own, and it gave me three relatively big categories. And something that Tim Ferriss pointed out was, the longer it takes you to come up with something of what you want to do, of who you want to be, of what you want to have, the longer it takes you to come up with those and populate those categories, the more you probably need to be thinking about those categories. Because otherwise, you're just at the whim of the external river, just your colleagues, whoever's around you, whoever's studying in school around you, your roommates. Like, their interests are going to override yours if you don't know what the fuck your interests are. So your first step is to finding out what your own interests are. So do have be is phenomenal. Personality test. And the other one that I really liked was, I watched this one TED Talk, and she talked about the Joy Journal, of which I would kind of mention to you.
I think you kind of did.
I just like the concept of it. She said, for 30 days, just 30 days, each day at the end of the day, like right after dinner, you go to your room and you just take 5 minutes to just reflect on the day, and you write down the number one best part of the day. You just take a couple minutes and you just reflect and you just say, this was the best part of my day. I really enjoyed this singular thing. This is the highlight. And then you do that for a whole 30 days. And after those 30 days, you can kind of look back, and it will give you some pretty interesting insights into what it is you really enjoyed throughout the day. So the Joy Journal, I like that. She also suggested you can do the opposite and write down the worst part of your day, because I think avoiding the things you're shit at and the things you hate and the things you don't mesh with is just as important, if not more. Mm-hmm. So those 3 things are honestly like a pretty good starting point, I think, in just understanding yourself.
Yeah, you have to like take the time to invest in yourself too, though.
That's what I'd have to find it, but that's what William Dershowitz, whatever the fuck his name is, who wrote Excellent Sheep, that's what he talked about. Like,
pull it out, bro.
I don't know if I can find the quote.
Tune in next week to find out what William Dershowitz said. Colin has been waiting so long to tell you guys. See you next week.
All right. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. We didn't mean to take you away from your aggressive Amazon shopping for some CeraVe lotion, but we hope you gained a couple things from this podcast. We hope you're able to take away some of these ideas for potential introspection. Things like the personality test, the Joy Journal, and then writing down what you want to do, what you want to have, and what you want to be. The other real big hitter that we had from this podcast was Rex's idea of this cookie jar, and really just having something that your brain likes to eat, something that you enjoy doing, stuff that you're able to reward yourself with. So there's like a nice work and play. And I know I personally have a habit of just not rewarding myself, but like sometimes, you know what, take some time and like watch a movie or something. Like enjoy it. You gotta have some enjoy and some work. So take these, run with them, and let us know if you got any other tips for getting your goals done, you know?
And munching on them cookies.
You come back next week. I see you next week, right?